There are thousands of great classical composers who've written some fantastic music. But even if you're not into classical music, you can still use their music to get ideas for your own songs. Watch this video to find out how. Hello home music creators. Now, if you've watched many of my videos, you know I'm big on finding ways to get song ideas, because it can be really hard sometimes. Now, Bach, Mozart, Vivaldi, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, Grieg, these are all names you've probably heard, even if you don't know any of their music. And their work is just a small sample of all the music we have available to us to inspire us to get song ideas. Now, you may well be saying, but Paul, classical music is so boring. Well, I don't agree, but okay, that's fine if you think that. But it doesn't stop you using classical music to get ideas for whatever genre you're working in, whether that's heavy metal, rock, pop, reggae, R&B, hip-hop, whatever. Now, being a guitarist, you know, I immediately think of the likes of Yngwie Malmsteen and Ritchie Blackmore, who are very obviously people who've been influenced by classical music. But you don't have to be that obvious about it at all. Now, I have a similar video about stealing musical ideas. That video is very general about the process, whereas this one is specific to using classical music to get ideas. If you haven't watched that video yet, you can click that card up there, or you can click in the link in the description below. So how do we go about this process of using classical music to get an idea for a song? Well, first, find some classical music. Now, maybe you have a particular piece in mind. If not, search on Spotify or YouTube or wherever you listen to your music and search for either a particular composer or just classical music in general. One thing you can do on Spotify, which is great, is that you can look in the classical genre. Go to search, scroll down and pick classical. There you'll find some great compilations, which are a great starting point if you know nothing at all about classical music. Okay, so now you've found the piece that you want to borrow from. Now we just got to find something in it to borrow. Now that could be a chord progression, it could be a melody, and this is probably my favourite method of doing it. It could be a scale or arpeggio, maybe an unusual scale that you've not heard before. It could be a rhythm. And I'm sure you'll probably find your own things that you can take from these pieces once you start listening to them. Now, if it's a chord progression, or a scale, or a rhythm, it's just a case of working that into the song that you're writing. So maybe you're already working on a song and you need to incorporate that idea into it. Or maybe it's a brand new song and this is your starting point for that song. Either of those is okay. What I suggest you do is record what you've borrowed and proceed from there. So record on your guitar or your keyboard or whatever it is that you play. Hopefully that part you record will inspire your writing and it'll start making you have more ideas for where your song goes from there. If not, then go back to the classical piece and borrow something else, or find a new classical piece and take from that. Now, if you've borrowed a melody, you can't just use that melody verbatim. You're going to have to change it. I have several examples of me doing exactly this, creating guitar riffs from classical melodies, such as this one you can get to via this card up here. I'll also link to several of these videos I've made down in the description below. Basically, you take the classical melody and then start changing things one by one until it sounds nothing like the original melody. And the things you can change are the order of notes, the tempo, the key. For example, you could change from major to minor or vice versa. You could change the rhythm, you could drop notes out, and you could add extra notes in. You could change the time signature. You could repeat notes. You could change single notes to chords and chords to single notes. You could change chord voicings. There are so many things you can do to make it yours. I suggest you check out some of those videos where I've done exactly this and the process will become pretty clear. Okay, so there's your method for getting song ideas from classical music. If you're stuck for song ideas, or you're in the middle of writing or recording a song and you hit a creative block, I hope this is something you can try and get that creative part of your brain working again. This is Paul from Home Music Creator signing off. See you in the next video. Cheers.